Hey guys, forgive me for the loud noises. I'm in a restaurant here, but I wanted to make a video here. Please understand that the pro-Israel, as well as the, let's call them pro-Iran supporters, have both seriously miscalculated this war and what this war is truly about. Okay? This message is really for Theo and people that watch his channel. I think Theo sounds like a pretty nice, genuine, good-hearted guy. But I think that his understanding of what's going on is lacking, let's say, to put it lightly. And I think that the pro-Israel camp believes that this war is about stopping Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, and that would be an existential threat to not only the United States, Israel, but the West in general. And I don't agree with that. I don't believe that Iran is imminently close to developing a nuclear weapon. However, the pro-Iran people, or let's just call them the anti-Israel people, believe that Israel is fomenting this confrontation with Iran in order to get, and at the same time using its influence through AIPAC and lobbying to force America into a confrontation with Iran. And that's also bullshit. Okay? I understand that hating Jews is just, the sine qua non of being cool and hip, but you're letting your hatred for Israel and the Jews to cloud your judgment. But it's not about that. Now, the pro-Israel people are equally stupid and foolish because they don't understand what this is about either. So you're both idiots. What this is about, this is an expansionist policy because the United States wants to be the unipolar hegemony in a resource-rich, strategically important region in the world. That's what this is about. This is about creating a political reality in which China does not have an influence in the region. What you guys fail to realize, thank you. I'll get the fatouche too, please. Thank you. What you guys fail, well, sorry? Yes, please. What you guys fail to realize is that Israel is not controlling the United States. Okay, they're not pushing us into this war. They're a proxy of the United States, as is Iran as a proxy of China. And so, Theo, listen and listen well, my friend. Donald Trump, in my opinion, is playing a very dangerous game. But he's playing a game that he has to play. He wanted Israel to strike Iran. Now, he's going to make it look like he didn't because he doesn't want the blame of this confrontation to fall back on himself or the United States. So he has to make it look like it's Israel unilaterally did this. What Trump wants is he wants Iran to come back to the negotiating table and sign a humiliating agreement that would be beneficial for him in the West and would be humiliating for the regime in Iran. He gave them 60 days to sign a deal. They didn't do it. And on the 61st day, Israel attacks Iran. You don't think that don't think that Trump had something to do with that? Now, Israel has been very strategic and precise about only attacking military and nuclear and oil infrastructure. Proportionately, Iran has actually hurt a lot more civilians and has damaged more civilian infrastructure than Israel has with Iran. Now, what Trump wants is to say, look, if you want this war to stop, if you want your nuclear scientists, your generals, your infrastructure, your ballistic missile launchers to stop being depleted, sign a treaty, and I will put a choke collar, I'll put a muzzle on Israel. And then what would happen is Trump would receive a huge political victory. He would also be able to brag that he was able to avert a catastrophe and having an all-out war with Iran. And he could maintain his promise to the American people that he will not drag us into another war in the Middle East. That would be a complete victory for Donald Trump. And that he does not want, that is why he did not allow the Israelis to kill the Ayatollah. See, you stupid fuck. See, if Israel really controlled everything, then they would have just killed the Ayatollah because they won an all-out war. But see, America is controlling Israel, not Israel is controlling America. But you're letting your anti-Semitism cloud your better judgment and truly understanding what's really happening. I'm not pro-Israel, nor am I, in this particular instance, I'm not pro-Iran either. I'm just looking at what's happening on the chessboard and trying to make a critical analysis of it, not looking at any side. This is geopolitics. And Theo, which you don't understand, this takes years to understand. Okay? This is basically a continuation of power politics in the Cold War. Okay? Because Iran is not a peer competitor, nor is Russia, to the United States. But China is. And because China is a peer competitor to the United States in both military and economic power, the United States cannot allow Iran to have a foothold in the Middle East. I'm sorry, China to have a foothold in the Middle East. So Iran is their foothold to the Middle East. Okay, they have had a plan to topple, to topple 8 regimes in the last however many years. I don't know how many years it's been. Wesley Clark talked about this. Somalia, Sudan, Iraq, Iran, Libya, Lebanon, and Syria. They've done that all except for Iran. And Iran is very important for China. China is the biggest buyer of Iranian oil. They're heavily dependent on Iran for oil. Iran is heavily dependent on selling Iran oil for their economy. Remember, the United States put a lot of sanctions on Iran, not allowing them to sell their oil or their natural gas, because they're also a natural gas producer, to many countries in the world. So they really had a chokehold on their economy because of these sanctions. So you need to understand that it's not about the weapons of both. It's not about nuclear weapons. That probably is bullshit. But it's also not Israel controlling the Americans. The Americans are running the show. And they have been running the show. And that's why even back in 2024, when Israel hit Iran the first time, Biden told them, do not attack their nuclear facilities and do not attack their oil. And Israel did. They attacked their air missile defense systems, okay? You need to really, and I think you know that you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to this. I think your heart's in the right place. I think you're a decent guy. I'm not attacking you. In fact, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you. But you guys are just to think that it's so simple that it's just APAC. And I understand something. When people like Anna Kasparian or Cenk Uygur come out, or Dave Smith, about how Israel's receiving billions of dollars in foreign aid. Israel is just a conduit for who really gets the money. Israel's not the one getting the money. Yes, Israel is getting foreign aid, but that money has to be used and spent on American weapons. So if you really want to get mad at anybody, it's the military-industrial complex. They're the ones that are getting the money. And they just are using Israel to do their dirty work for them in starting these wars, like with Iran. Even though they really didn't start this war with Iran, because Iran had been attacking them for years via proxy groups. But I know that this is not Theo Von, Candace Owens. You guys have a very narrow, simple-minded view of the world, and your viewers do too, because you're not a political commentator. You haven't studied this long enough to understand it. It's not easy. There's a lot of moving parts, and you have a very reductionist analysis of trying to reduce a very complex matter into something very simple. And so, it's just the Jews. It's just Israel. It's the Zionists. They're controlling our politicians with all this money, and so they're getting us in all these wars. No, they didn't get us into Iraq. But you need to understand, it's more sophisticated than that. The Americans go to war, and yes, a lot of times these wars do benefit Israel. They do also benefit Saudi Arabia. Look at Iraq. Iraq was very beneficial, the Iraq war that is. It was very beneficial for Israel. It was very beneficial for Saudi Arabia. It was also beneficial for Iran. Okay? And yes, Netanyahu was wrong, when he said that there will be positive reverberations around the region if you take out Saddam. Okay, he was wrong about that. Correct. Yes, you are right when it comes to that. But it's not, they are allowing Israel to be the scapegoat so that they don't get blamed for really what's going on. Israel is a part of this. They're a part of the warmongering, but they're not the ones controlling it. They're just playing their part because it benefits them, because they're a proxy of the West. They are a satellite state of the America and the West. But it's not that Israel is running the show. And the reason why people think that is because there are age-old anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that the Jews are running the world and all that. No, the Israelis are a part of the problem, but they're not the head of the snake. The head of the snake is the weapons contractors, the oil companies, the politicians, and those converging interests that are controlling what's going on. And yeah, Israel happens to benefit a lot of the time. So does Saudi Arabia. So does the UAE. So does really if you really want to get mad at anybody, go get mad at Raytheon, get mad at Northrop Grumman, get mad at Boeing. Okay, get mad at the weapons contractors, because all that money is just going from the United States government to Israel back to the American weapon manufacturer. And it's like Joe Biden said, probably one of the only things that he said that made any sense, that if there was no Israel, we would just create one. This is part of the system. They make a war, and like this is what's going on for Iran, right? They want this war to happen, but they don't want their own citizens to blame the politicians for it. So they're making it look like Israel. And Israel knows this. They're making it look like, oh no, it's Israel that's doing this, and we're just, now we gotta support them. So they're really just blaming it on them. No, it's, you wanted this to happen because you want to take out Iran. They don't even really want to take out the regime. It's not that they even want to take out the regime. They don't really want to take out the regime because they would the backlash of that. do not want another Iraq. They don't want to put boots on the ground. What they want is they want a weakened regime that comes back to the negotiating table with their tail between their legs, willing to make a humiliating agreement. And they're using Israel to put pressure on them. Kind of like how Trump used tariffs to put pressure on other countries to come back to the negotiating table to get more favorable agreements. So please, before you run your mouth, your feelings don't matter, Theo. I don't care about what you feel about Palestine and Gaza. Understand that the people that are running the show don't give a shit about feelings either. They care, have a long-term strategy, and that is to remain a unipolar, hegemonic power in the region. And they have to stymie the influence that China has in the region. We'll talk later. Hope this elucidated it clearly.